tutorial kitchen. Yeah, I'm throwing a queso party over my friend Becky and Tyler's, sauteing up some seasoned chicken, serving that up with some refried beans. That's my simple take on a classic Spanish rice. Frying up and seasoning my own corn tortilla chips and serving that up with a luscious 3-ingredient queso dip. And then it's a build your own quesadilla bar. Tons of toppings. You can make yours as spicy or as mild as they like. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with us?
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, I am at the grocery because it's Cinco tonight. I am having a Tex-Mex feast over at Tyler's. That's why I have a cart. It's looking for about 10 feet inside. I will see you guys at the restaurant.
Quite the haul, but I am ready to check out. I will see you guys back in the kitchen. Welcome back, everybody. No, I am not in my kitchen. I'm over my friend Tyler and Becky's because we're having a queso party and we're having all kinds of things. It's going to be a Tex-Mex feast. So I'm starting with some rice. It's going to take the longest to cook. I've already dumped in about 3 cups. No, I do not rinse from my rice. You want that starch because that's going to thicken up everything that we're putting in here. So this is a Spanish rice, and I'm going to show you the simplest recipe for that. So I'm going to start with my salsa. So there's 1 jar of salsa. That's going to add the color that gives us our veggies. And it gives us a lot of flavor, so we don't have to really do any seasoning. And the salsa adds a little bit of liquid, so when we're putting our liquid in here, we won't need quite as much. So I've got chicken stock, and you really just need enough liquid to cover the rice. The trick to rice, people either have too much liquid or not enough. Too much liquid, you get sticky rice, sushi rice. Not enough liquid, the rice becomes undercooked. And just kind of stir that so it all comes together. You can always add a little more stock if you need it. But there we go. I'm going to pop a lid on this and set it to cook. It's going to cook for about 25 to 30 minutes, give or take. Then we're going to get my skillet going for our chicken. Just on a medium to low heat. And speaking of chicken, 2 bags of grilled chicken here, frozen diced. This is going to save us a little time. If you want to cut up raw chicken, by all means, and I'm going to use the bags here to do a little fun. So I'm starting with taco seasoning. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons per each bag because chicken is naturally bland and I want it to have lots of flavor. To this, and I'll also do a little onion powder, just a tablespoon of that. And same with the garlic powder. A little bit of cumin, about a teaspoon. And salt and pepper. Like I said, chicken is naturally bland, so we're gonna throw in a little pepper. About a teaspoon, and with the salt as well. Chicken can use the salt. Now here's where the fun comes in. So I've let this defrost, and the chicken's nice and wet. So that's going to help all of our flavors stick to it. And I like these sealable bags. I'm going to show you why in a second. Just make sure you get a good amount of air out. And make sure they are sealed tight. And then we're just going to take them up. And remember, shake and bake. And then the chicken's going to get fully coated in all those spices. And the same with this part here. Yes. Okay, and check out that chicken. As you can see, it's nice and beautifully coated. I'm just going to lightly pour this into my skillet. I'm going to go one at a time here. Let that cook down some. It won't take too long because the chicken's already cooked. So really it just has to come up to temp. And we'll just kind of stir it around. I've got about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here. That's going to keep it from sticking and help it caramelize nicely. Yeah, guys, check out that chicken. Get a nice sear on it. Nice and cooked through. I added just a little more oil here. And now we can throw in our other bag of chicken. And just give that a stir. And let that start to cook down. You can always add a little more oil if you need to. So make sure this chicken's nice and moist. It does not get dry on us. And just continue to stir that until it's mixed in. So I said it's going to be a feast, and it is. I've also got some refried beans here. Just kind of plop that out. The skillet I've got on a very low heat. I do not want these to scorch. And just kind of mash them down. I love refried beans. They're what I like to call a kiss side. Keep it simple, stupid. Rosarita did all the work for me. They cooked the beans and they mashed them down. So I just throw them in a skillet and bring them to temp. I am going to do a little seasoning on them as well. They're kind of bland, so we're going to throw in a little salt here. Maybe like a half teaspoon and a quarter teaspoon of pepper just to give it a little flavor. And just kind of stir it around and just let it kind of cook down. You can also add a little water to kind of soften them up. But I just let them go on a nice low heat until they are warmed through, stirring occasionally so they come to temp evenly. And that's literally all you gotta do. Now let's talk chips. I'm also doing a queso sauce, and for that we need chips. And I'm not just gonna go to the store and buy a bag of chips, that's boring. So I got some corn tortillas, and we're just gonna fry them up. Dropping them in here carefully because I don't want this oil all over my fingers. And they're really, they're just gonna fry for a couple minutes till they're nice and golden brown. And we'll do several batches of that because I've got a bunch here. But you'll see they just get nice and golden brown and they start to puff up. And we will take them out once they're good and crisp. Okay, the rice has gone off. So we're gonna remove the lid, and it's good and hot. Look at that, it's steaming. That's when we give it a nice little fluff. This is when we can do a little seasoning if we want. Add just a little salt and a little pepper. And see, that salsa has turned our rice a beautiful terracotta color. And you've got the tomatoes and peppers and all that goodness in there. So I'm just gonna fluff that up. We'll stick the lid on there so it stays nice and hot. And then we're gonna come back to our chicken. So I've turned that down to low. It is cooked through to keep it nice and moist. A little more of our stock. It's gonna kind of glaze the pan a little bit. And it's gonna meld with all those seasonings from the chicken. And just give us a nice little sauce. And I'm gonna turn that back up to a medium just to let it reduce. So I did just a small batch to start so we can make sure we get our oil at the temperature we want it at. Just go right into our little bowl. I always use a separate bowl to help with the grease. I don't want these chips to be greasy. I just want them to be nice and crisp and flavorful. And our oil is good and hot, so we can turn it down just slightly. And these sizzle nicely as soon as I drop them in. And we can drop in a few more this time. You just don't want to overcrowd the pot. Otherwise some of these will stick together. And then you'll get pieces that are not done through. Alright, second batch is ready to come out. Nice and golden brown, and you can hear that crunch. I'm gonna pop in some more here. And these babies we're gonna season up with a little seasoning salt. Just give that a little toss. And then we can always give one a little taste. Perfect. Those chips continue to cook. We're going to move on to the crown jewel of this feast, and that is the queso. Just like the chips, I did not buy a jar of queso just to heat up. We're going to make our own with 3 simple ingredients. This is like the easiest recipe, guys. You're not even going to believe it. So, I'm doing a double batch. That's why I've got more than 3 ingredients here, but 2 cans of evaporated milk, which, go figure, is not just for baking. How about that? And 2 small cans of diced green chilies. That's going to give us the heat. So literally, one at a time, we're gonna pour out our evaporated milk. In evaporated milk, it's just milk that it's more condensed because it's had some of the liquid removed, hence evaporated. And then we're gonna throw in our chilies. 1 kilo. And get all that flavor out of there, don't leave anything behind. And the other jar here. And this is going to go in the microwave for about 3 minutes. This is fresh out of the microwave and it is good and hot. Now for our last ingredient, cheese. I'm using pepper jack. You can use a Mexican blend, whatever you like. I like the pepper jack because it is going to give us a little more heat. And just dump the whole thing in. So for the double recipe, you need 2 cups of cheese. And you just stir that in to that mixture, and it will start to melt and become a luscious sauce. Alright guys, here's our cheese sauce. I added a little more because that bag I had was not quite 2 cups. And I cooked it for a couple more minutes just to let that cheese melt, and look at that. Nice little beautiful ribbons of queso. And we're going to start frying up our tortillas. Okay guys, so I set up the bar here. There's our chicken. It's done. It is nice and moist. I've got cheese out. I've got onions, tomatoes, got some hot pickled peppers if anybody likes that, a little salsa verde. I am going to go ahead and make mine up. And then everybody else can go through and put theirs together. So I like to do a little cheese as a base to help everything kind of stick together. I'm going to come in here and get some of our chicken. And I think I'm going to do a little of the salsa verde here. Give it a little heat. And then we just fold that up and it's going to go on my hot iron skillet. Okay, so for the quesadillas, I got my flat skillet out. I'm going to start with the first one here. Make sure the pan is good and hot. And you'll hear it start to sizzle as you throw that on there. Literally a couple minutes each side, just to let that quesadilla get nice and crisp And then I've got my little pizza cutter here. We'll cut it into little triangles. And then everybody can plate up the rest of it. All right, first guy's ready to come off. Move this one into the middle while everybody else makes theirs. Now, depending on the size of your tortilla, you can cut it into 3s, you can cut it into 4s. This is more of a medium size. And I'm just using a pizza cutter here. We're just gonna cut it into 3 slices. Just make sure we cut all the way through. And then you can kind of stack them together. That way they've got room on their plate for everything else. All right, round 2.
Yeah, 1375. Wait a third.
Open mark now. Go ahead.
You pick that up over at the gas station and walk the floor.
Yep.
I'm gonna love it.
And the last one for now.
So up before you pass the speed in the order.
All cases are accounted for, so I can plate up my dish now. I want some of this rice. Of course, some of the refried beans. And I think I'm gonna need a second plate for the chips and queso. A nice handful here. And look at this liquid gold. And I'm just gonna drizzle it all over the chips. And it is time to dig in. All right, guys, time to dig in. I'm gonna start with the sides here. Oops. Okay, guys, time to dig in. I'm gonna start with the sides here. Rice is nice and soft and tender. All those wonderful flavors. Just the right amount of salt.
And break.
The beans. Hot. Soft.
They're much larger.
Technically.
What did yourself
Now for the quesadilla. Chicken's nice and moist. Salsa adds just the right amount of heat. Tortilla's good and crisp. And speaking of tortillas, I'm really excited about these chips, guys. Listen to that crunch. That's like everything. And this cheese sauce is amazing. Not too spicy, nice and velvety, clings to the chips like beautifully. Well, I'm gonna finish up here. And then we're gonna play some games later. But I want to thank everybody for joining me once again. Hit me up in the comment section, like and subscribe, and until next time. Bon appetit.